In this video, you will learn about relations in the context of algebra. As we begin our discussion, we need to understand a few terms. First is, what is a relation? Well, a relation, by definition, is a set of ordered pairs. Alright, so if we had a set of ordered pairs, that would look something like this. Where we have 1, -1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and then 6, 7. Alright, this would be an example of a set of ordered pairs because we have more than one ordered pair. We have 4 of them in this case. Alright, so this would be a relation. Another term is the word domain. Domain is all the values of x. So we see in red, these first numbers are all x values. So the domain is simply a listing of all of these x values. So the domain would be 1, 2, 4, and 6. The range is all the values of y. So the second number in the ordered pair is your y value. So the range would be just a listing of those y values. So we have -1, 3, 5, and 7. All together would be our range. Now, if you remember the terms domain and range, and you're just forgetting which letter that it goes with, like you don't remember if domain is with x or with y, the way that I personally learned this when I began studying algebra is I think domain, the letter D, comes first in the alphabet, and then range starts with R, that comes second in the alphabet. Well, same thing with x and y. X comes first and y comes second. So the words and letters that go first go together, and then the range and y, which comes second, will go together as well. So just maybe a little way to remember which one is which. Alright, here's a little practice with domain and range. So if you have the relation b equals, and then 0, 1, 1, -2, 0, 3, and -4, 3. And you're told to give the domain and range. What we're doing is, for domain, we look at all the x values. So domain, we see 0, we see 1, 0 again, and -4. Those are all my x values. When I list the domain, by the way, I want to put it inside of a braces, so like this. It's not really the best braces, but you get the idea, hopefully. So you just list the numbers, so 0, 1, 0, -4. We don't repeat numbers, right? There's no need to repeat a number. We're just listing what numbers we have present. So we see a 0, we can just write that one time. So we have 0, we have 1, and we have -4. So the order really doesn't matter in which I write it, but many times we'll write it from smallest to biggest number. Alright, and then the range are your y values. So that would be the other numbers. So 1, -2, 3, and 3. If we write this in order from smallest to biggest, we would have -2, then we have 1 and 3. So -2, 1, and 3 would be my range. Alright, so that is domain and range. Now from here, we are going to continue our conversation of domain and range, but just looking at it in different contexts. So here we have an equation. Alright, given y equals 4 times x. Write the relation if the domain is -3, 1, and 4, and name the relation g. Alright, so what we need to do is first remember the fact that domain means x values. So these are my x values, -3, 1, and 4. So what I need to do is I need to plug in each of these numbers, -3, 1, and 4, in place of x over here. Alright, so when I plug it in place of x, we will see what we get for y. So for example, we see the -3. Let's plug in -3 in place of x. So instead of y equals 4 times x, we have y equals 4 times negative 3, which would be negative 12. So when x is negative 3, y is negative 12. I can write this as an ordered pair, where I put x first and y second. So I can write this as negative 3, comma, negative 12. So that is my first ordered pair, and I just do this again with the 1 and with the 4. So next I can plug a 1 in for x and see what I get. So if I plug a 1 in, we get y equals 4 times 1, which is 4. So when x is 1, y is 4, I can write that as an ordered pair. That would be 1, comma, 4. Alright, and lastly, we do this with the number 4. So we plug a 4 in. So if x equals 4, we now have y equals 4 times 4, which would be 16. So when x is 4, y is 16. So my ordered pair is 4, comma, 16. So here we have 3 ordered pairs, and the instruction said to write the relation, which a relation is simply a set of ordered pairs. So put it all together, write it in one statement. We have negative 3, negative 12 as one ordered pair, comma, the next one is 1, 4, comma, and the third one is 4, 16. And we can write the relation inside of the braces, like you see here, and it says name the relation G, so we have G equals this. Alright, so that would conclude example number 2. Example 3, now we are dealing with graphs. And the question here is, what is the domain and range of the relation? So it's going to be helpful to determine what my beginning and end points are. So this point up here is going to be, what, over 4 to the left, so 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. So for x, that would make x equal negative 4. Right, that's the negative direction for x to the left. And then y is up and down, and y is up 4. That's the positive direction, so y is positive 4. So that first ordered pair is negative 4, 4. The second ordered pair, we went over 2 in the positive direction, so x would be a positive 2. And then we went down 1, 2, 3, which is the negative direction for y, so that would be a negative 3. So that ordered pair would be 2, comma, negative 3. Alright, so from here we need to determine domain and range. So remember, domain, that is your x values, right? So at first glance you might think, oh, well, x values, that'd be negative 4 and 2, and just call it good. You might think, oh, negative 4 and 2. But notice this graph is everything between that, right? It's a line, it's connecting negative 4 and 2. So not only is it just negative 4 and 2, but it's everything between negative 4 and 2. Alright, so the domain will literally be everything from negative 4 to 2. That is my x values. So the question is, how do I write this in math notation? Different ways you could do this, but probably the best way is to write it like this, where we have the letter x in between, and notice the way we write this, x is literally in between the negative 4 and 2, right? And that's what we have in actuality with the graph. X can be anything between negative 4 and 2. So this would be my statement. Notice it is connected with less than or equal to signs. And it's less than or equal to because the equal part is because it can actually equal the point. Alright, so it's including the point, so it's got the equal sign as part of it. Alright, let's do range. Range are your y values. So y values. So looking at y, we have 4 and negative 3 as your y values. That is how high up and down it's going. Right, it's going from negative 3 up to 4. So y is literally anything between negative 3 and 4. That is how high it goes. It starts here at -3 goes all the way up here to 4. So the range, the change in the y values, would be anywhere between -3 and 4. So when I write this in math notation, I would write the y literally in between the -3 and the 4. And then I use the less than or equal to sign to connect them. Alright, so this would be the quickest way to write this in math notation. Alright, let's try one more example like this. So given this graph, what is the domain and range? Well, I first want to begin by establishing what these beginning and end points are. So the first point, I went to the right 2 and up 6, which makes that point 2, 6. The second point, I went to the right 8 and then down 1. So 8 is positive, 1 is negative, that's the negative direction. So that ordered pair is 8, -1. So now for the domain are your x values. Alright, so looking at the x's, we see 2 and 8. I'm going to write this up here, 2, 6, we see 8, -1. Your x values are 2 and 8. The domain is literally between 2 and 8, right? It's going to be anything in between that because this line is connecting them. So from 2 to 8, that is my x values. So when I write this in math notation, I write this with literally the x between the 2 and the 8. And this is my expression. Alright, and the range are your y values. So that is how high up and down the graph is going. It is going from -1 all the way up to 6. Alright, that's how high it's going. So the range is everything from -1 all the way to 6. So the range is between -1 and 6, and I can write this in math notation where the y is literally in between the -1 and the 6. And this would be my expression. Now that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.